Conclusions kill art. There you are. We're done the whole video. Conclusions kill art. Man, how do I even start this? And why do I look so short? The week can be like... ladies and gentlemen, I haven't filmed a video in like 2 weeks, and I just wanted to be here. I've been really sick recently. Not the mental kind, just like coughing up and just, you know, just a lot of that, really. So I didn't upload last week, and as I'm getting better now, I realized I'm probably gonna end up missing this week's upload. So I thought, let's just have a rant. I watched this Jack Saint video, and some of it has really stuck with me, and I found myself asking the question, what is art? Is art just like paintings and drawings? Or can music be art? Can movies be art? Can books be art? Is this art? In this video, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna yap. You're just gonna watch me yap. Maybe I'll put gameplay on the screen, actually. I'll do that. See, you're more focused now. It's working. I like to think that a lot of things can be considered as art, right? I don't like the thought of the world being this boring place without color and art. For example, I like the fact that my key is the only key that fits into my door. I like that. I think that's kind of art. All of a sudden, this thing which, like, sure, it's a boring key, but now all of a sudden there's something beautiful and creative. I like my key. Shout out my key. I don't know. One thing that for some people is such a boring, oh, it's a key. Now, when you look at it from this angle, it's kind of beautiful. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very, very well. For me, the answer to the question, what is art? The answer for me is something that makes you feel something. I don't know if that sounds too pretentious. I think a lot of things in this world can make people feel things. And I think there's something artistic and beautiful about that. Now let's talk about something which has nothing to do with this. Recently, I was watching a YouTuber called Jack Saint. I'll put him on screen. Oh, no, wrong way. He should be like right here. But yeah, he was going on this rant, and it's been a few weeks and I just haven't been able to stop thinking about it and thinking I want to talk about this clip specifically on this channel. So that's just what we're here for. Anyway, let's roll the clip.
If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll remember I had a lot of beef with the concept of objective film quality. The idea of reducing art to a checklist of correct and incorrect ways to tell a story. And on a basic level, those measurements inevitably come back to an idea. The audience is king. Give them what they want. Satisfy their desires.
I think the reason this clip stuck with me is because it almost took me back to being in high school. Having just left year 6, where we didn't even really learn about story structure or writing structure. It was kind of just like, oh, you can write. You know what letters are. You go into high school and they start teaching you about structures such as the teal structure. This is what we used to write with every day for basically my entire high school experience. After a few years of this, I just couldn't do it anymore. I don't know. I just couldn't write the same way constantly. But I lost a lot of marks and was told that my storytelling or my structure was terrible. I was a bit all over the place with essays and I wasn't great in school. But I found myself having to kind of bend what felt like the comfortable, natural way to convey information to kind of please the person reading it. In a way, I had to feed the desires or whatever Jack said about like the audience.
Satisfy their desires.
But I think the reason it just stuck in my head was hearing that not following structure doesn't feed your audience. Because that's almost verbatim a quote that I got told by my teacher. It was always like, you've got to know the people that read this don't want to read it how you write it. They want to read it the way which they ask you to write. Which again is completely fair. And I probably could have just not been an ass and could have just wrote it the way he wanted. But I didn't. I don't think there is objectively bad art. I don't. I think if you want to write a story where the ending comes before the start, if it comes out good, then great.
Here's my day so far. Went to jail, lost the girl of my dreams, and got my butt kicked pretty good. Still, things could be a lot worse. Oh, that's right. I'm falling to my death. Guess they can't. How did it all come to this, you ask? My end starts at the beginning. The very beginning.
I guess, is linear storytelling the right way? Then why did the Megamind movie start at the end? Or pretty close to the end? Would we say that that's then a bad movie and not amazing? Why in Shrek does Shrek not take his pants off? That's a real question.
When every story ends in a neat bow that makes you feel warm inside, it's easy to come away feeling generally content with the world as it is. When you're not being challenged, you don't have to think as much about what a piece of art meant to you or how it might contradict things you previously believed. Effectively, the art returns to being mere product, a fun distraction.
For me with this one, the part that stuck out is leaving it in like a tight little bow. I think sometimes it's nice to leave question marks. Recently, I've been watching The Truman Show a lot. I watched it like 4 times this week. Felt really sad to say that, actually. And I gotta say, when you watch it so much, you start seeing holes in this movie. But I can forgive a lot of the bad parts of this movie because of that ending. As Truman tries to sail away from this hell that he's been trapped in, the same guy who talks about Truman as a son, really, the same guy who talks about him in such a loving way is now actively trying to kill Truman for leaving. And I think that's what adds a weird emotion to this scene.
God's sake, Chris. The whole world is watching. We can't let him die in front of a live audience. He was born in front of a live audience.
You get a shot after all of the storm which Truman goes through. You get a shot where it looks like Truman is dead. And everyone's having these deep breaths. They show reactions from around the world of people watching. It just all felt very dark and very real for a moment. And even when it was like, oh, guys, Truman's alive. Even when he hits the wall and he gets out and he has this like almost heaven-like experience of finding the staircase, you could argue he died. You could argue he's in heaven right now and he's speaking to God. We don't ever get to see him walk through the other side of the door. There's still something left out of that bow. We don't actually know what happened there. And even then, the storylines don't finish. I mean, there was the love story with the girl. We never find out what happens there. We don't even know what's on the other side of this door. But I think that's the beauty of it. I think if you were to like flesh this scene out and he walks through the door and he ends up in like Manhattan or just some place in America and it's like a Captain America moment of like, whoa, this is what the outside world looks like, and then he finds the girl and they hug and they spin and they kiss, the movie would have sucked, man. If he could have just left and there wasn't an issue, there was no really rough conclusion, I wouldn't have enjoyed this film as much. I like the fact that it ends where it ends. I like that it ends with him walking through the door and there's so many questions unanswered. Is he actually even alive? Does he have deep trauma because of this? Will he sue them? Does he find the girl? There's a lot of interesting things about this that just don't get answered. I don't want a Truman 2. This is enough. It leaves me with questions that I guess in another life I would love to have answered. I'd love to be filled in that pause, big pause. I'd love to have those questions be answered, but I don't need them answered. And I think that's kind of a big part of the reason why I appreciate it so much. This one might sound really dumb. If the Titanic wasn't A, a real thing, and B, as much of a well-known story, I would have thought it was a weird twist that only one girl survived and it was the girl that stayed near the boat. I'm definitely going off on tangents and I'm definitely getting tired and like rambling, so I'm just going to try and draw everything back in. I like endings that I don't expect, that don't necessarily leave things all nice and pretty in a nice tight bow. Sometimes it's good to have question marks. What happened to the girl? What happened to Truman? It's nice to not have things in the nice box.
I've struggled a lot with expressing myself in a way I feel is authentically me. I tend to be very self-conscious and cater everything I write and make to what I imagine my audience wants from me. I've considered myself a creative person my whole life, but I have few complete projects to show for it. Doubt constantly fills my mind on what might be seen as too confusing or boring or pretentious.
This last clip, I don't want to speak about this too long. I tend to find it quite cringe when YouTubers speak about what they do in like almost like a bigger sense than what it is. What I would say though is I've started to notice my content is regressing to a less creative format, and I don't like that. I've spent the last month going out and recording things. I filmed recently with Tyler Dobson. I love you, Tyler. I also filmed with my friend Jonty. We went out, filmed an outside video in like real life. I interviewed a guy. It's nice. It's nice to go out and do things and start to feel like I'm getting this creative sense back, because I felt like I lost it. But I'm working on this video right now that I've wanted to make for over a year and a half. And I keep picking up the project and putting it down because it's a case of like, what if I don't make it good enough? What if this thing that I care so much about, I do badly? It's what I want to make. And I know I'd feel so great when I press the upload button. I gotta show you some. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. Basically, it boils down to, I feel like I'm losing the kind of content I want to make. As if I'm making a video and then 2 weeks later I look back and think, you know, why did I make that video? I'm already looking back at some of these videos I made in the last couple months thinking, they didn't age well. I don't want to go back and watch them. I think I started to think it's safer to just make the Jake Paul video. And that's just not what I've ever been about, you know? I've never really been the type to change what I want to do to please other people. Same with the teal structure thing. I never was really wanting to bend the way that I do my own things to try and please a larger audience. And I guess that didn't work for me then. But it made me feel good. And that's why I do this, to feel good. And I think I'm starting to get to a point where I want to do that. I want to maybe take a month and make the video right. The only issue is, obviously, it doesn't really work on YouTube, you know? You don't really get the luxury of just like disappearing for a month and coming back, especially as a small channel. I mean, I haven't uploaded in 2 weeks and I've got like 6 views in that time. Dope. I think I'm at a point now, I've been doing this for a couple years. I just want to like put some content out there which is good. And I think even if it doesn't do the numbers, which I hope it will, it is what it is. I don't know if this is watchable. I don't know if this is going to make the end product. All right, well, I think that's where we leave it.